There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration.
"What I'm about to reveal is irrefutable," she said, her voice steady, almost surgical. "Irrefutable evidence that President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence assessment that they knew was false. It was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday. No contentious hearings on the Hill, no high-profile press briefings. Just another day in Washington, the kind of day when political insiders casually scroll through their phones over lunch, checking news tickers for anything remotely interesting. Then, the video dropped. On every major platform, YouTube, X, Rumble, the thumbnail popped up like a flare in the dark. Tulsi Gabbard, framed by the seal of the Director of National Intelligence, standing stiff-backed at a podium. Her eyes locked straight into the camera, unflinching. Her expression wasn't the plastic, rehearsed smile DC viewers are used to. This was something colder, heavier. Within minutes, the clip began its ascent, trending across social media, shared by both admirers and skeptics. Tulsi Gabbard wasn't just giving another policy update. She wasn't speculating. She was detonating a political grenade. "What I'm about to reveal is irrefutable," she said, her voice steady, almost surgical. "Irrefutable evidence that President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence assessment that they knew was false." That single sentence cracked the air like a whip. For years, the official narrative surrounding the 2016 election had calcified into political dogma. Russia interfered, Russia hacked, Russia swung the election for Donald Trump. But here was the nation's top intelligence officer on record saying the foundation of that narrative was not just flawed, but deliberately manufactured, not by Moscow, by Washington. Tulsi's revelations centered on a single, pivotal date, December 9th, 2016. 3 days earlier, on December 7th, intelligence talking points had been finalized. The language was unambiguous. Foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome. That had been the consistent assessment for months. The intelligence community, across agencies, had agreed Russia was probably not trying to influence the election through cyber means. Analysts weren't finding evidence to justify the hysteria being whispered in political circles. But on December 9th, everything changed. President Obama convened an emergency National Security Council meeting. In the room, John Brennan, CIA Director. James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence, Susan Rice, National Security Advisor, Andrew McCabe, FBI Deputy Director, Loretta Lynch, Attorney General. According to declassified documents, the meeting was not just to review intelligence, it was to reframe it. Within hours of that meeting, Clapper's assistant sent an urgent email to senior intelligence leaders. Per the president's request, create a new assessment. The goal? A new unified story linking Russia directly to Trump's victory, a story strong enough to survive public scrutiny, media amplification, and years of investigation. The shift was immediate and glaring. December 7th. Talking points. No cyber impact on election outcome. December 9th. Secret NSC meeting. January 6, 2017. A brand new intelligence community assessment, ICA, was released, one that directly contradicted all prior findings. This new assessment claimed with high confidence that Russia had meddled in the election with the specific intent of helping Donald Trump win. It was a political earthquake. But according to Tulsi, this wasn't a natural evolution of intelligence analysis. This was a manufactured pivot, ordered from the top. One of the most explosive details in Tulsi's briefing was the role of John Brennan, then CIA Director. Despite strong objections from senior officials, Brennan forced the inclusion of the now discredited Steele Dossier into the ICA. The dossier, paid for by the Clinton campaign through intermediaries, was riddled with unverified claims, some so outlandish they had already been flagged as dubious by analysts. When confronted about its credibility issues, Brennan allegedly responded, "Yes, but doesn't it ring true?" It was the kind of statement that revealed the deeper agenda, not truth, but plausibility. If it sounded like it could be true and it served the narrative, it stayed in. A CIA officer later testified under oath. DCIA refused to remove it and overruled their objections. The assessment was no longer about gathering the best intelligence. It was about producing the right intelligence. The deception didn't just involve adding false material, it also meant suppressing real intelligence that contradicted the narrative. Reliable sources indicated Russian officials were expecting a Clinton victory and preparing accordingly. Other reports suggested Russia believed neither Trump nor Clinton would align with their core interests. Perhaps most damning, a draft of the Presidential Daily Brief, PDB, from December 8th, one day before Obama's secret meeting, explicitly stated, Russia did not impact recent U.S. election results. That draft never saw daylight. It was pulled within hours, replaced under new guidance from the very top. One of the most human and disturbing threads in Tulsi's revelations was the story of an ODNI whistleblower who worked directly under Clapper. When he refused to participate in shaping the new narrative, he was sidelined, stripped of duties, and cut out of the loop entirely. He tried to follow the rules, reporting his concerns to the Inspector General, members of Congress, and even the Department of Justice. The response? Silence. He never got calls back. They were not interested, Tulsi revealed. In the intelligence world, being ignored is sometimes more final than being fired. The January 6, 2017 ICA that became the bedrock of years of investigations was not, in fact, a broad intelligence consensus. It was produced by just 5 CIA analysts, a process completely at odds with standard IC practices, which typically involve dozens of experts and multiple agencies. Worse, the ICA's core conclusion rested on a single, scant, unclear, and unverifiable fragment of intelligence from a substandard source. That fragment was treated as gospel. This report would launch multiple congressional investigations, feed nonstop media coverage, and justify an FBI operation that consumed years and millions of taxpayer dollars. Standing in the White House briefing room, Tulsi Gabbard laid it all out. There is irrefutable evidence that President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence assessment that they knew was false. She wasn't speaking in careful, hedged, bureaucratic language. She was speaking as a combat veteran, as a former lawmaker, and now as the chief overseer of America's intelligence apparatus. Her words landed like a gavel strike. She was referring potential criminal charges to the Department of Justice. Hours later, the DOJ confirmed receipt of her referral and announced the creation of a strike force to investigate. Pam Bondi stepped up to the microphone. "We will investigate these troubling disclosures fully and leave no stone unturned to deliver justice." For the first time in years, it seemed the protective shield around Obama's administration, long seen as politically untouchable, was cracking. The implications are enormous. If Tulsi's declassified documents hold up under DOJ investigation, this isn't just another partisan scandal. It's an indictment of how political power can hijack the intelligence community to manipulate public perception, even to the point of rewriting election history. It raises questions that will haunt Washington for years. How deep did this coordinated effort run? Who outside that December 9th meeting knew what was happening? How many officials willingly looked the other way? And perhaps the most dangerous question of all, if they could do it in 2016, what's stopping them from doing it again? Tulsi's viral interview may have been just the beginning. The next chapter will be written in courtrooms, hearing rooms, and perhaps once again behind the sealed doors of the Oval Office.